So, I have been quite poorly recently. However, from the title, you can probably tell I've got some serious stories to tell you about my recent activities. So this is a camping related video, but I am not camping out tonight. So this is my top 5 camping tips for buying gear online. I'll get back to that story a little bit. So let's start with number 1. So it's about researching gear, is this one. Sometimes you don't read the small print, you've decided that you're going to buy something off Amazon because you know it's reliable, you know it's a safe source, and you've not read the small print. Very important, you need to look through all the details. Just because you've seen a picture that you like doesn't mean it's going to come exactly how you've seen it. It's important to look at the reviews as well, the pictures from people that have bought it. You might end up with something that's miniature size, or it might not quite work as you want it to work. So say you've ordered a nice tall man off Amazon and you get me, an absolute short ass. Still looks good in the picture, but it's still not quite what you wanted either. So then you feel a bit more disappointed. Places like Amazon as well do have a lot of small print, a lot of little details that you need to sort of pay attention to just to make sure that your gear is correct. Brought Chloe out, look, she's messing around on the rocks. Nice day for a neck injury. She decided she didn't want to be in the video. But I hate stuff like this, look. People just leaving shoes on the ground. Littering. It's not right. That brings us on to number 2. Oh, I could go for a number 2 right now. This brings me on to boring you about the price of things. But the price is definitely important. We've all been going through, you know, the hard times, the inflation, and sometimes what the gear used to be, the price of the gear what it used to be, say a sleeping bag that was £100 2 years ago, it's gone up to something like £150. It's the same product. If not, they're probably even scrimping and saving and using cheaper materials to build it. So it might even be worse quality. But my question is to you, is it worth it to you? Can you honestly say that that money that you spend on that bit of gear is worth it to you? For example, are you going to get the use out of it? Is £200 per sleeping bag reasonable if you only use it twice a year? Or can you afford to just splash out on something a bit cheaper and enjoy the rest of your pay packet somewhere else? Save your wallet. Don't want that getting too light just because you've decided that all the spare money that you've collated over that month from your pay packet, that £200 spare, has to be spent on that piece of gear just because you can. Twice a year for a sleeping bag use is definitely not worth £200 in my books, depending on what you're going to use it for. For example, I might want to spend £200 on a sleeping bag if I know it's definitely going to keep me warm in some Arctic climates. I'm definitely not going to scrimp and save on my health and spend £100 on a sleeping bag, make it nice and cheap, if my health is going to be at risk. But in the UK, if I'm just going to camp, and you're just going to camp in the UK, £200 for a sleeping bag is probably too much, and probably overkill for the conditions that we're in, especially if you're only going to use it twice a year. Save yourself a bit of money. And that brings me to number 3. Is the site reliable? Chloe's tucked up there in those rocks. We're gonna have a hot chocolate. Is the site reliable? And you can check this out. Best way I found to check out if a site's reliable is Facebook. No one lies on Facebook, do they? What you need to do is, if you research on Facebook wild camping groups, forums, then just ask the question in there, screenshot the website, and more often than not, people tend to have already bought from that site and tested it out already. So just go and ask a question in there. The beauty about those camping forums is that you can ask any question you want. You can ask about the site's credibility, the delivery time, etc., any hidden fees, and you can also check to see if the gear is any good that you want to buy. You know, ask questions about that. Sometimes you can find decent spot locations. You can also find little deals and offers that people tend to show you. You can also find loads of pictures and inspiring sort of posts from other people wanting to, you know, get yourself back out camping again. It gives you the uproar and go. That's a nice location, let's get out there sort of thing. I've definitely seen a fair few inspiring posts. Word of warning though, you do want to double check and be careful before asking certain questions in camping forums. You also want to take what people say with a pinch of salt. Some people in our community, sadly, are not always the most polite. Sometimes your questions can be answered with a bit of, you know, aggression, for no need as well. You might be asking about, you know, is this rucksack any good? And people might go, why don't you ask someone else that you know that's already got it? Why don't you check on Google and check the reviews? Why don't you research YouTube videos and see if anyone's been using it? It's just no need sometimes. Some people do get a bit nasty, and you just need to take it with a pinch of salt and to be prepared for that on the camping forums, I find. Found her in a cave, look, little hermit. Enjoying yourself. Best get her nice and warm, ain't her? No, not what you're thinking. Always flick this little thing up, otherwise it gets in the way and you've already tightened your gas canister on. You have to undo the canister just to get back to that switch, just to be able to release it. Cooking on gas now. The job's worth too. I'm not sure if anyone's actually still using this stove. It used to be quite popular from planetx a long time ago in the camping community. I'm still loving mine though. I love these woods. I remember getting this cup, I think it was from Lidl, in one of those, you know, cool little aisles. Pops out like that. You've got your typical sort of heat breaker there, and then that lid just goes on top. We're boiling. Didn't take that long at all. Oh. Got a Galaxy hot chocolate. Oh, no. Nightmare. Torn down side, I've lost half my powder, lost it all. That's some. It'll do for a small one. Why do bad things always happen to good people, eh? It's got that easy pour sort of spout on the lid. Just make sure it's pressed down nice and tight before you try to pour it, otherwise the lid will go flying. You've got hot water everywhere. So whilst I'm having a nice hot chocolate, warm up the cockles of the heart, might as well talk about rule number 4. Offers. So just because you've found the gear that you like, you've done all the research into it, and you've done all the research into the website as well, and you like what you see, and the price is worth it to you, doesn't mean you can't do a little bit of extra work just to try and get it cheaper. The ease of ordering online is that sometimes there's some hidden voucher codes that you can just find. Sometimes just search it into Google, sometimes ask other people, sometimes people on Facebook tend to give out little vouchers in those groups, just what they found. Other sites as well might even do it cheaper. Just shop around a bit, it's definitely worth that extra work. Even if you're buying off something like Facebook Marketplace, those prices that people put up sometimes leave, and they've put that price up to leave that bit of wiggle room just in case people decide to barter them down. And this isn't cheeky. If you want to try and offer them a lower price, don't feel like you're being cheeky to them, because sometimes that's what's expected. So yeah, sometimes those prices are put up, and yeah, someone might go for that original asking price, but I reckon most of the time they do expect a little bit less than what they're actually asking for. You've just got to be cheeky enough to ask, or shall I say, it's not cheeky to ask, you need to be brave enough to ask. And this is where I bring you to the story about Facebook Marketplace. So recently, because I've been doing the odd YouTube video here and there, I decided to try and buy a GoPro 11 with accessories on Facebook Marketplace, and at a reasonable price too that they were asking for. It wasn't too cheap and it wasn't too dear, but just like I told you guys, I did try to barter them down. I got it down to a reasonable price as well that I was happy to pay for it. Unfortunately, it turned out this was all a ruse, and I have been a victim of a scam. I talked to this gentleman for a few days, trying to get down the price, sort of find out how long it would take for him to post the item, and he explained that it was his son's camera that they'd bought for him, and he wanted to sell it because he never used it anymore. I couldn't make it over to the location where he was selling this camera, so I did ask him to send an updated picture of the camera with the date in it, as most people tend to start doing in Facebook groups, all that kind of your stuff. You know, people tend to ask for a name written on a piece of paper and a date to be put in those pictures, as many people have started doing in those Facebook groups. Everything seemed to be in order. I'd asked all the right questions, got all the right pictures, and he asked me to send the money over PayPal, and didn't want me to send it with buyer's protection because he was worried he was going to get scammed, which is kind of rich, really, now that I think about it. He didn't want to get scammed by sending a camera over and someone asking for that money back, which yet again is probably a common worry for people that are selling items online. The PayPal information had the same name, and it definitely looked like it was his information, so it looked like it was all legit. I decided that I was not going to send it via PayPal. I decided I was going to send it via bank transfer, which he said he couldn't give me his details because he was worried about being scammed online, people stealing information and identity theft. So he said his son would give me his information and I'd be able to transfer it over via that sort of account. I sent it over late one night, and in the morning I was given a fright. A message from Steve I did receive that apparently his account had been hacked and I should claim my money back. So naturally I'm panicking now, and I decided what I'd do is go call the bank straight away. I did find it very odd that his account had been returned to him, and he managed to message me and explain that he'd been hacked. And he got quite nasty too, because I did say, well, normally hackers don't tend to give you your account back. Oh, it's a good hot chocolate, is that? Eventually I got the money back, and all was good. But then I got Gaz to message the same guy because the marketplace advert was still on, and it turns out he were replying to him. So who knows what goes on? Maybe I got scammed, maybe the guy just didn't want to part for that amount of money and he told me to get my money back. I don't know. Absolutely baffled me, it did. Luckily my mate Gaz came through, and for an early Christmas present he said he's got an old GoPro 10 Hero. So what a legend, yet again, my mate Gaz has looked after me. Can't thank him enough. If you haven't already, probably have done, he's so famous these days. Please give his channel a follow, because that guy truly is a legend and definitely a bit zany. But he'll definitely keep you entertained. So luckily I managed to get my money back. But that is the story, how I got scammed. And I guess some people are not so lucky like me to be able to get your money back. Sometimes that is the be all and end all, that's the end of the story. Yet again, there's still so many unanswered questions. Why did he scam me or not scam me? Why did the, you know, account stay active? He was the one who told me to claim back the money, to try and get it back. It's very confusing. And I suppose that leads me to the final rule, and this is the golden rule. Number 5. That leads me to the golden rule about telling people how much you paid for it. If you have a missus and you've got a partner, sorry, just like me, always tell them half the price of what you paid for it. And in that way, they tend to be quite happy with you. Which I never do. Never, ever do. Do appreciate you listening to me waffle on. I know it's not been the most interesting of videos. I've not been camping exactly. I do plan on getting out a bit more over the Christmas period, or just after the Christmas period, because that's when my workplace tends to be the busiest. But I'll definitely be out again soon. I'll bring you more cheeses. And thank you for watching. Bye bye.